Hey everybody, we're back again, a little sooner than our previous episodes. Uh, this is the random podcast of Awesomeness, and this is Shadow Wolf.
And this is Grid at 14.
And today we are reviewing the game Donkey Kong.
Donkey
Not
Kong 94 for the Game Boy, to be precise.
right, this is not your average arcade Donkey Kong.
No, which I was very disappointed to actually learn, and it surprised me greatly. Because I thought we were going into this like it was a standard arcade title. No, this is not the standard arcade title. This is new and extreme, and all sorts of different kinds of what the hell.
So basically, what this is actually based off the arcade game, and then some.
Yeah, it's the basis of the arcade game is here. Like the first three levels, which pretty much serve as your tutorial, are in fact the arcade game.
Right. And then you go on to find out this is more of like they took Super Mario World and turned it into this game, kind of.
Yeah, it's like the original Donkey Kong Classic game did a fusion dance with Super Mario World, and this is what came out. And as you can tell, their power levels were not clearly matched up.
Of course, I don't think it was supposed to match up with like Super Mario World because it's the Game Boy.
Right.
But
Although, to be fair, there are people that have ported Super Mario World onto the Game Boy,
this is
and it
true.
can work. It's not nearly as deep as Super Mario World is, but it can work.
So yeah, as Gerdat was saying, this starts out pretty much as the original Donkey Kong, and then it starts out. You go from different worlds, each one having a different puzzle to solve.
Each one having different puzzles and themes
Yep.
and gimmicks and enemy types. And yes, there are officially enemy types, whereas before you were just fighting fire and barrels. Now you're fighting other things that are not fire and barrels.
Yes, lots of different things.
Although a large majority of them are still instant death enemies.
Yeah.
Actually, not as far as I've played, but I assume that they turn into instant death enemies at some point.
Yeah, I haven't made it all the way through, but I assume at some point that will happen as well.
Okay, so as Shadow and I just pretty much spoiled, we did not finish this game. You see, I set up, that is mostly my fault, because I set up a really short review title for this, because I thought this was going to be just the arcade game, and then I started playing it. And while we would, postpone the review date to actually continue playing it more, no, I don't want to continue playing this. It's starting to frustrate me to a point where I seriously am not having nearly as much fun as I started, and it's becoming glaringly obvious what a few of my major issues are and will remain to be.
Saying that it's not a bad game.
No, it's not a bad game. In all seriousness, it's one of the original video games upgraded significantly. But that being said, a lot of its, original video game-ness really shines through here, and not necessarily in a good way.
Uh, there are some goods, but
There are a lot of goods here. There
yeah.
really is. But I can't seem to locate a lot of them. Alright, so in the event that you guys don't know what the original story of Donkey Kong is, you less than adequate nerds, you, um, Mario, well, actually, his name isn't technically Mario at this point. Believe it or not, it was supposed to be Jumpman, and it was later changed to Mario, but that's behind the scenes crap that you should already know anyway. Um, yes, Mario has his girlfriend kidnapped by Donkey Kong. And his girlfriend in this is not Princess Peach, but rather Pauline, who will never ever be heard from again. And Donkey Kong kidnaps Pauline because the game is pretty much a ripoff of the King Kong plot, and it is up to Mario, being a plumber, to go and rescue her from the Donkey Kong, who is King Kong.
And actually, in this series, he's not actually a plumber; he's a carpenter.
Oh, he's a carpenter.
Yes,
Hmm.
which
It's
makes
actually a
sense.
much more dignified position. I salute you, Mr. Carpenter Mario.
He's had a lot of professions over the years.
Yes. For example, physician.
Good for Mario.
Yes. Now, the gameplay, well, I kind of want to save that for a bit later. The music in this game is not actually that bad. I find myself enjoying the music while I'm playing it, although the tracks themselves are only about, 20-second, they're 20-second or less loops most of the time.
Which is sort of to be expected from.
It's definitely to be expected. I think the smallest loop is about 5 seconds, and then during pinch modes it speeds up.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
during pinch modes, the music can get rather annoying, but you'll almost never get into pinch mode if you know how to basically do a platformer. Um, the sound effects in this are actually okay too. They're not necessarily that, great, but they are traditional platformer sound effects and definitely sound like they could have been from an arcade machine.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
At
go with
least
that.
one of the older arcade machines. Now, what a lot of people fail to realize is that my total arcade experience is one time when I went to some chick's birthday party that was disguised as, a church group, and another time where, well, the bunch of times that I've been to a combination of Chuck E. Cheese's and Craig's Cruisers. So
You are
my arcade
unfortunate.
experience is rather limited with the older titles.
I will actually have to say that being where I live, I actually have the largest arcade in the world.
Sweet.
I know that might come as a surprise, but it's true.
It's definitely a surprise, but do you actually go there and play the arcade games?
Yes, I do. I don't go.
Awesome.
I don't get to go very often, but when I do, it's very fun.
Yes. Evil quarter eating machines.
That's what they are.
Um, and getting back onto Donkey Kong, I do like the music and sounds in this. They're not bad. They're there. They definitely stand out and they do what they're supposed to do. Um, let me Shadow. What do you think?
Uh, I think the sounds are pretty good. Uh, Graphically speaking, I think it could have been a little better.
Well, yeah, it could have been better. I have still actually have a copy of the original Game Boy port for I believe it was the NES Ninja Turtles, and I personally think it looks a little bit better than what this does. And I know for a fact that other Game Boy games would look much better than this, like Mega Man V and Mega Man 4. Mm.
Did they actually have all the way up to there on Game Boy?
That being said, they're not bad graphics, but they definitely could be better.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, the color scheme, being it a Game Boy game, is rather
Black and
limited.
white. And
But
this is not even a game that gets bonuses when going over to Game Boy Color,
right,
which the Ninja Turtles did that too, I think. It's a weird thing, but oh well.
there are only so many things you can do with black and white pixels.
True, but a lot of the enemies at least still look like what they're supposed to be.
That's
I mean,
true.
the giant mouse enemies look like giant mouse enemies. Fire looks like fire until you start touching it, and then you realize, yes, it's still fire.
Yeah. But yeah, I we pretty much just discussed the premise of the game. You go along from each world, and there's just like any Mario game. You go along from each world and unlock puzzles to get to the next world.
Hmm. And a lot of these puzzles can be relatively challenging. I know that there have been several where it took me a few tries to get through. And again, Shadow and I didn't finish the game, so yeah.
So yeah, that certainly says that there is quite a bit of difficulty in this game.
Yes. And I guess that's where I'm gonna start harping on my negatives when we get to gameplay. The gameplay in this is okay for the most part. There are a lot of small things though that really start to irk me, especially when it comes to the overall control. Mario has momentum, but it's and because of that, he's very slippery on the Game Boy. Um, I'm not entirely sure why he's so slippery, but he is very slippery. I know that you can control your airborne momentum. I'm just not sure how well because it's so very damn slippery.
Yeah,
Um,
you have to
Mario
take your time.
Mario doesn't actually jump all that well either in this game, and since his original name was Jumpman, that kind of strikes out. Although, to be fair, I think his ratio for how high he jumps is the same in comparison to the other titles. At least when you compare screen size.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure how accurate that assumption is. Still, it definitely feels as though he doesn't have nearly the jump height that he's supposed to.
That, and you also want to be able to time your jumps.
It's not just timing your jumps either. It's timing your jumps and putting enough power into your jumps to make sure that you can go places, because you can modulate your jump.
Right.
But most of the time, as far as I've seen so far, modulating your jump either is a requirement or is totally, ignored.
Which, if you play the game, you will shortly find out.
Yes. Even in the tutorial levels, I was having a bit of trouble, actually figuring out. Well, that's not really a control issue, but it segues nicely. The game is not very good at teaching you what you're supposed to do. The overall objective after the tutorial levels is rather simple: find the key, use the key to unlock the door, continue your pursuit of Donkey Kong. And it's relatively simple because along the way you can also acquire Pauline's items that she has dropped in her getting kidnapped. There's pretty much an infinite amount of purses, parasols, and sun hats that you can get. And if you manage to get all three, purse, parasol, and sun hat by the end of the level, you'll be taken to a bonus round, which is gambling.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's a gambling thing. I've only seen two of the bonus reels of the bonus rooms. I'm pretty sure there's three, maybe even more than that. But the two that I've seen are a slot machine and a roulette wheel. And I personally prefer the roulette wheel because you're guaranteed something on the roulette wheel, whereas the slot machine you can fuck up pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the game is not very good at teaching you how to control Mario. You are almost always put in a situation that Mario can handle without doing anything special. But the times when you are forced to do something special, they haven't shown you or told you how to do the thing special yet. Mario has a lot of different moves in this game.
He has a lot of different moves.
He has an incredibly high back jump, where if you're facing one direction, hit back. If you're running in one direction, hit back and then jump relatively the same time, he will super jump like twice his normal height into a backwards cartwheel. It's very useful for getting onto platforms that you can't normally reach, except it's not. The platforms that you tend to want to reach with this thing are positioned in such a way that the back jump doesn't have enough room to adequately aim. However, his other superpower that he has is actual handstand jump, which for some reason is also twice his normal jump height. Although it doesn't actually fling you forward, as far as I can tell. It's just pretty much a double jump. And again, it just doesn't jump high enough to get you to where you need to be. Not only that, but a lot of the puzzles are relatively vague on how you're supposed to actually get to the key and get the key into the door. There are a lot of special items that are thrown around the stage that create bridges, like vertical and horizontal bridges, and these things annoy the hell out of me. But for the most part, they work okay. It's just that the entire point of the level is to figure out where you're supposed to place these in order to make it so that you can reach the end with the key.
That's pretty much the majority of it. There are a few other smaller things, but like at any point Mario can flip onto his hands.
And I did describe the backflip jump.
Right. But that also allows him to do things like catch falling barrels.
I did not notice that he could do that one, so
You shall have to see a video of that if you don't continue to play, but
I really don't plan on continuing to play this, though. I'm stuck on a particular level and I have no idea how to finish it. You see, the level that I'm stuck on requires me, at least I'm pretty sure it requires me to be in two different places at once, which Mario can't do. And the reason I say this is because I have to release some insects, some rideable insects, and then while the insects are released, use them and climb up to the exit. The problem here is that there are two different types of insects in here. One's with spike backs and one's with flat backs. And regardless of how I try and time the release, the one insect that I'm supposed to ride with an actual safe back to ride ends up right on top of the spike back one. So I can't ride it.
and that's where this game gets complicated.
Yes. And mind you, I'm not that far in. I don't know how far Shadow got, but the puzzle I'm stuck on is World 2-7.
Yeah.
Same with you?
No, I got a little further than that.
Oh, so you actually figured out how to do 2-7.
Yes, I did.
I can't figure it out for the life of me, and it pisses me off because every three stages in this game, we didn't really mention this, but every three stages you will battle with Donkey Kong. And should you succeed in your battle with Donkey Kong, you will get a save checkpoint for that world. Unfortunately, this is the only real method of saving in the game. There's a quick save option, which I'm not entirely sure if it works, because I didn't really try it out. But as far as I can tell, if you turn off the game, you'll be sent back to the last checkpoint.
Right.
And it really bothers me because I have to go through 2-4, 2-5, and 2-6 before I can get back to 2-7, which are actually relatively easy. I mean, there's still the stupid bridge thing that I got to deal with, but that's not that bad once you know what you're doing. I find this game to be a good game, but I don't find myself enjoying it nearly as much as I'm supposed to. It's definitely a classic game that's been upgraded significantly, but that doesn't mean it's simply not something that I'm into, which is weird for me because I am an avid lover of platformers.
That is kind of interesting.
Any action adventure platformer that I've played, I've almost instantly fallen in love with. There were a few exceptions, like the Crash Bandicoot series. I like to an extent, but I don't absolutely love it. And there are certain action platformer series that I absolutely worship. Oh yeah. But this just isn't one of them. Mario, I do like a lot of the Mario games. I do. Super Mario World, fantastic game. I can't beat the damn thing because I suck at it, but it is a fantastic game all the same. The same thing is actually happening here. There is a good game here. The controls, although slippery, are still relatively responsive. The puzzles, although a bit convoluted and nonsensical at times, are at least trying to be fun to figure out. And I can figure out the puzzles that I've been through, as I've succeeded in going through them. But when I get stuck in an area like this, it's just like, what are you asking me to do? And the game doesn't actually, help me out here. I realize that I should be trying to get this rideable insect onto a specific path where it can go up over into the level exit. But thanks to clipping and the fact that the puzzle is not set up for that to happen, I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Ugh. It is to sadness.
Yeah, that could be a little better.
How about you, Shadow? Have you gotten stuck on any particular puzzles?
I'm stuck on the current one I'm on. I don't recall which level it is. I think it's in the fifth world.
See, Shadow is much better at video gaming than I am. Speaking of, I've been getting a few requests lately to see if you actually watched the part that I posted for Pokemon Puzzle League.
Oh, I will have to check that out.
Okay. But getting back to Donkey Kong, I don't really know what else to say about this. There is a good game here. There is. It's most certainly not my forte, and it's weird because it's a puzzle platformer. I love a lot of these type of games, but I just can't get into this as much as I should be, at least. And it frustrates me when I can't get past a puzzle, and I've literally been stuck on this puzzle damn near all week.
Yes, I could see that getting anyone upset. Uh, there are actually a total of 101 stages in this game for anyone that's interested.
Really? So
Yes,
that means there's 8 worlds.
right.
Yeah, there's at least 8 worlds, and there's that averages to because World Two's got like 13 stages in it. I counted them out, and that means they're increasing their stages per world. Jesus.
Well, this says the player is then presented with 97 additional stages spanning 9 worlds for a total of 101 stages. So there are 9 worlds with 101 stages.
Okay.
And
All right.
the very last one is guess who you're fighting. So that should be pretty easy to guess, but
Yeah, we've been chasing him throughout the entire game.
yeah, it's a pretty basic game. It's just one of those games that are, if you've played a lot of NES games or any early games, you know that there's a lot of hard games out there.
Very hard games, in fact. We've played one of them. Curse you, Shadow. First you had us do SDNX. Now you're having us do Donkey Kong.
Well, I wanted to give you a little culture.
Uh, and I thank you for that. But seriously, next time it's your turn, I'm pretty sure you're going to have us do like either Shadowrun or hell, you might even have us do you might even have us do Chakra the Forever Man. Ugh.
Uh, no, it certainly has its strong points and it also has its weak points.
It has a lot of strong points going for it. I like the enemy variety that we see. I like the fact that there's actual obstacles that aren't necessarily the enemies.
Right.
Mind you, they usually devolve into being conveyor belt puzzles, but I'm okay with that.
Uh, for those who haven't really played the Donkey Kong titles, there are actually follow-ups to this game, which are actually like there's Donkey Mario versus Donkey Kong series, which there's like 4 of those now. There starts out with Mario versus Donkey Kong. Then there's Mario versus Donkey Kong 2 March of the Minis, which I have played, and those are very fun.
After my experiences with this, I'm pretty sure I won't be going into those. Even when I was playing the original Donkey Kong, because I had played the original arcade version of Donkey Kong at some point. I think it was on the Wii. I think it was on the Wii Virtual Console at one
Yep,
point.
yep, they have that on there.
And I was playing it, and I'm like, this is not my thing. I'll admit it's an action platformer, but the original arcade version of this was a bit too simple, and it wasn't too easy, but it was definitely a bit too simple for my taste. This, however, starts off as really simple, like I was expecting it to, and then just gradually ramps up the difficulty as it goes on, which is how a game should go. But the spikes here are very glaring, and the spikes here are very glaring and hard to get over.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that it challenges you.
yes, it's good to have challenge, but don't skyrocket the challenge at intermittent points.
Right. No, it's a crazy game.
Mm.
Uh,
So yeesh, we've only been going for about 20 minutes.
25.
Okay, I kind of want to do a brief comparison with this to other action platformers, but no, there's no real point in that. I've already made that clear.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, you want to go straight into final thoughts, dude?
Sure, let's do that. And then I have a
Okay.
special treat for the kiddies afterwards. Uh, so me usually being a Nintendo fanboy, I do like the Donkey Kong series, and I've been interested in this game for a while, so I am glad I actually got to play it. Though I'm not quite sure if I'm satisfied with it. I like the music a lot, and otherwise it's a challenging game. I'll probably give it about a 7 out of 10.
And Shadow is breaking up for me. I don't know if you. I don't think it will all come on the recording, but his net is probably dying out on him.
Uh, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I personally find the spikes in this to be a bit too glaring. The overall gameplay is fine, and I find myself enjoying the music and sound as well as the graphics, even though they're clearly outdated for our day and age, and they clearly could be better based on its competition. That being said, the spikes and the overall challenge are definitely things to deter me just personally. I'm gonna have to give this a 5. I know it's a bit low for me because I've gotten over these things with much higher scores before, but this one in particular just seems to be not my thing, and I don't really find myself going back to this. I may have been stuck on that puzzle all week, but it's mainly because when I went back to it, I would play it for about 10, maybe 15 minutes, try to get through it, and then realize that I don't care about getting through it anymore and go do something else.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So yeah, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10 from me. There is a good game here. All right, the series definitely has potential. It's just not my thing, and I'm probably gonna get either a lot of flack or almost no flack at all for that. Huh. Maybe even some weird combination of the two.
Yep. So what's your final verdict?
My final verdict
Oh,
is a 5 out of 10
okay,
on
it's
this.
5 out of 10. Yep.
Did you have your Salisbury steak?
Uh, so I said I wanted to talk about something else. Uh,
Okay.
Thursday, I went to the Legend of Zelda concert, the Symphony of the Goddesses, and for those who have been thinking about it, I would definitely recommend it. Uh, Check out the locations where you can go see it, but it was definitely worth it. It was spread out into 4 parts with songs varying from most of the major titles, including Link's Awakening, which was pretty amazing.
The Ballad of the Skyfish, right?
Yep. And I got they had T-shirts and posters, so I made sure to get one of those. So yeah, if you guys plan on going, definitely do it if you can. So that's about all I have to say for this episode. Thank you guys for listening.
Same here. I
Uh,
did not go to the Symphony of the Goddess concert. I was at home.
Sadly. So this has been the random podcast of awesomeness.
Indeed, it has, although it's not really so awesome at the moment.
It's awesome enough, I guess.
It can work.
This is Shadow Wolf.
This is Gurdette 14.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Be safe, guys.